Hello, this is Leighton Pearce presenting Radio Sampha, brought to you by the Department of Environment, Water and Natural Resources. Okay, welcome to Radio Sampha. I'm Leighton Pearce, and we have a special guest present today. Once again, we have Tom Robinson, and he's talking to Nick Shady.
Brilliant, thank you, Leighton. So we're sitting here at Vic No-Till Conference in Bendigo, and I'm here with Nick Shady, the author of Who Gets the Farm? It's a practical guide to farm succession planning. Thank you for joining us, Nick.
Thanks, Tom.
So, Nick, what made you write this book?
My wife and I wrote the book because we're frustrated with the way farm succession's going. Often it is the wife or the girlfriend, they come on the scene and they don't really understand the family dynamics of the farm. And it's mainly these people who have these skills and often are left out. So, and seeing farm succession, and we've been through a positive farm succession, you see a lot of negative, and everyone hears the negative. So it's sort of, the book's there to give hope.
So is this book coming from a personal experience?
Yeah, so my story's at the start, and I discuss about how we went through the process and how we failed at the start, and then we went back and revisited and eventually got there. And it was really good because when the parents and my older brother and I separated in 2009, we were able to separate the assets, and we had machinery that we owned ourselves, which in that time it wasn't normal for the sons to own assets in their own name and have that plant. In my story, I talk about we went to a farm succession planner and we sat around in the sort of mid-90s, and he advised my mum and dad to take back control because they thought we were going to lose the whole lot, get women pregnant and lose the whole business. And that was a concerning thing for me, that as a family unit that's very tight, which most family farms are, that's a frustration.
So do you find there was a lack of trust there, or was that a worry from your parents?
No, it was a lack of trust from what the advisor saw from us. And mum and dad knew what they were doing because they gave us control early. So my brother was 17 and came home, and he basically had control from sort of 1985 onwards. So, so that was rare in that time in our area, where Western District Victoria, which was predominantly livestock, and the land was held fairly tightly. And it was a story about how we expanded as a family, which families do very well. And then when you separate, that you still can work together. And I often get asked, do you ever talk to your brother now once you've separated the business? And that's a sad thing when people think that as soon as you separate the family business, you don't talk and you don't work together. So, yeah, that's why we want to give hope. But also the book's all about, in the case studies, is what can go wrong. And there's a story about a woman that loses a husband, and there's no life insurance, and all of a sudden she's got to sell the farm or try to run the farm. By the time she sells, everything takes a lot of time, and she's only left with like a small deposit of a house in town. And that's something that, as men, farming men, tough blokes, we don't discuss about going to the doctors. We don't discuss life insurance because we're going to live forever, you know. But that's not the case in these people's lives that have been interrupted by these bad events. So you've got to be prepared to look after your family. Your family's your number one goal, and this is why I talk about family farming all the time. And you've got to look after your family, and that's what the book's about. It's understanding your responsibility to your family, and farm succession is one of those things. And as a good friend says, you want to hand the farm over with warm hands. So whether it's while you're alive or that you want to do it. And that's something that you see way too often, where people get there, the parent dies or the grandfather dies, and then all of a sudden there's a major disruption to the business, and which flows through the community as well. Like we all talk about rural communities getting less, and I've been farming 25 years, and my rural community's getting less with the amount of people. what are we going to look like in another 25 years? What are the services we're going to have? And as a community, we need to sort of discuss and sit down and see what's going on.
So, Nick, do you have any children that are home on the farm or interested in farming? And how do you think you're going to attack the succession farming conversation?
That is a really good question, Tom, because I live in the provincial city of Ballarat, so I drive 45 minutes to the farm and I've got a farmhouse, so I stay out there when I work because that's the way I handle the stress of farming. I live external to the farm, but I've got a 4-year-old son, and being a dad at 40, which is something that a lot of people, they're kicking their kids out of their home by the time they're 40. It's given me time in the last sort of couple of years to work out how I'm going to do things, and I've become more relaxed in the way my business operates. I've reduced a bit of debt stress in the last sort of 6 months, and that's helped me to relax. I don't wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning worried about money. That's something that some people do. Some people are highly geared and they enjoy it, but that's something I didn't enjoy doing. But when Spencer gets to that age, he loves the farm now, but I've got probably 15, 16 years to see what he wants to do. But if it's debt-free and if the farm's still there and the machinery's still there and my knowledge is still there to pass it on, surely I should give him opportunity if he wants to do it. But if he doesn't want to do it, that's fine. I could actually give him that asset or whatever, and he could do whatever he likes. But as I said, I've only got one child. I've got a step daughter, and really they're the same to me. And who knows what's going to happen in 15 years' time? No one knows. So that's the part about enjoying what you're doing now, and that's something that the book talks about is having that discussion with your family, getting it out there, getting something sorted out. Because the worst thing you can do is leave people with no certainty or no plan. And I think that's what we've got to do. And it's every generation. There's no time. Like I'm starting now, putting money aside to where I want my children to have. You know, like I've been fortunate. My parents gave me a chance and a start. And Mum and Dad always say that I've been born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but when I have a bit of a laugh at that, because when you sit on a tractor day in, day out, when you're 18 to 20 or when everyone else is having a good time, you know, it's hard.
If you subscribe to Radio Santha through iTunes, don't forget to provide a rating and a review on the iTunes website for Radio Santha.
Nick, you're a part of the steering committee for the Ripple Effect, suicide prevention. Can you just have a quick chat to us about what the Ripple Effect is?
Well, the Ripple Effect is a Beyond Blue project, and it's designed to talk about and inform people about suicide and depression, anxiety in farming communities only based. It's designed for a need of where there is a greater percentage of suicide in our rural areas, and I sort of went on the committee because I don't like what's happening. The statistics of suicide in rural areas are probably well underrepresented in the numbers. It's meant to be 13 in every 100,000 people, but I believe that in the rural area it's a lot more. And in where I live in Ballarat, this is unproven evidence, but it's 2 or 3 a week, which is well above the average. It's like 10 times the national average. So what the Ripple Effect is designed for, the website was launched on the 30th of June this year. It's a place where people can go and have a look and discuss or have a look at the way that they view suicide, the stigma of suicide. And you only need to talk to people who have been affected by suicide to see that stigma happens. It never disappears. There's that stigma for the rest of your life because you wonder whether is it something I did? Was it some actions that has caused that? And that's the hard part of it. And being around people, we did a digital media course down in Melbourne in early February, and just the grief still of people year in, year out after losing a partner or losing a husband, even a wife. Like it's something that they don't recover from. You can get there and say, well, why did he do it? And you can sit down, and I'm a very level-headed person, say, oh, was it because commodity prices were bad? Was it this bad? Was that bad? But you could get there and say it could be, but it never is. And it's that uncertainty that causes a stigma of suicide. And as a community, we don't talk about it well. That's something that's very unfortunate because as blokes, if we're not well, we'll hold it in. And I know a lot of mates who get there and their wives say, what's wrong with your digestion all of a sudden? But you might be under stress. So first thing is your digestion is playing up. And your wife says, there's something wrong with you. You need to go and see the doctor. But men don't go and see a doctor because we're tough, you know. We're ex-convicts. We got sent out here to this old tough place and we've got to be tough, you know. We can't sit down and talk to a mate about how we feel. Women do it well. They go out there, they have a coffee with their friends and say, my husband's an arsehole, and then they have a cup of coffee and they all come home and they're fine. But as blokes, we get there and we'll talk about cropping, and we do that well. We talk about what row spacing you're on, but we don't get there and actually say, look, how you going? Like, it's a bit of a stressful time, and we don't involve ourselves in the personal side. And I think we need to do that better as blokes. And I have no answers about how we do it better, but I think that we need to get there and spend time together, because the old pub scene's gone. You can't go to the pub anymore with drink driving or stuff like that. The only time men do really relax is when they've had a bit to drink, and that's probably the wrong time to start talking about issues. And being around people that have the thoughts about taking their own life, it is that loneliness that they feel. It's that helplessness. It's that no one's going to miss me type of thing. But whoever you are, wherever you are, that someone's going to miss what you do. And then if you're feeling in pain, what suicide does, it just transfers the pain to the next person, the rest of your family. And it's a cultural thing. We need to start talking about that as a culture of men, regardless whether you're a factory worker, whether you're a truck driver, whether you're a farmer. You need to get there and talk about how you feel, and then work out, well, what is the next question I'm going to ask my mate if I ask him how you going and he says, not real good? What do I say? You'll be right, mate? Or you get there and say, well, what's going on? Is it your relationship? Is it work? Is it finance? Is your bank manager hassling you? So we need to get there and train ourselves about where we ask our friends.
Nick, if anyone would like more information about the ripple effect, where do you recommend them going?
Just go and have a look at the website. It's www.therippleeffect.com.au, and then go along, have a look at. I recommend everyone to have a look at it. It's been only going a week. We've had about 15,000 unique visitors to the site. We need people to log on, go and have a look at it, go and watch the videos, go and see my ugly head talk about why I don't live on the farm, and the reasons why, what's happened in my life. And there's some really good stories about people who have been to the edge and come back, or people that have lost someone. So I would really encourage people to go and have a look. And if you think that your friend needs to have a look at it, go and take your phone. If he's not mobile device friendly, take your phone to him, show him what he should go and have a look at, because it's aimed at the 30 to 65 year age group of rural farming men or men involved in agriculture. If you think your friend, and I get asked this all the time, what do I say to my friend? What do I do? It's something where people can go and have a bit of a look. We've had a lot of visitors come and have a look at the site, and then once they've registered, they'll come back and they'll have another look, because it takes a while to go through it. So I recommend go through it, because you might get something from it, and hopefully you'll get something for your community for it.
I'd like to thank you very much, Nick Shady. If people would like more information on the farm succession planning, where can they buy your book?
So you can order the book www.familyfarming.com.au, or it's in bookshops at the moment. You can go to Amazon. You can get a print-on-demand copy, or there's actually a copy that you can go on a device available through there. 10% of the proceeds of the book go to Survivors of Suicide, which is a group based out of Ballarat who help survivors that have lost someone through suicide, and that's a cause that we're very passionate about. And I'd like to thank you all. And if you'd like to have I know podcasts are very new in the farming area. You can have a look at my podcast. It's Family Farming Podcast. So Nick Shady's Family Farming Podcast. There's only a couple of episodes at the moment, but I do talk about what was happening in the dairy crisis early on. After talking to Tom, I did a bit about the Piola. So have a look at mine if you have the time, and I'd appreciate it.
Sanford would like to thank our sponsors John Deere, Growing Solutions, Grain Growers, Manutech, MDF, Sinon, NAB, Topcon, AGF Seeds, Glencore Grain, Viterra, Pete's Soil and Garden Supplies, and Needham Ag Technologies for their valued support throughout the year. Thank you for listening to Radio Sanford, the voice of agriculture.